as a man of his words, as I said. They know that unlike his predecessors that threw us under the bus one time, this president is not about to do the same thing. And that's very encouraging and empowering. Number two, you asked me about European countries. Look, we already are past the point of whether you should subscribe the IRGC as a terrorist organization or not. And frankly, I'm flabbergasted that there are still some countries that are not willing to take the next step, as if they are supposed to worry about how the regime would retaliate. This regime is on its last leg. It's about to collapse. And I think the world, especially the democratic free world, that champions freedom and human rights and equality of citizens, at the face of this regime brutal repression, should act now. I called for them to start acting as opposed to talking. We need your help, we need your action, we need to take all the steps that I've indicated in my opening remarks, all those 6 elements. Anything that can be done in that direction is a moral boost, and beyond moral boost, an actual act of support for a defense-led society and civilians that, as you can see, have been treated in the worst possible way. And the only hope they have is that their fight for freedom, their sacrifices, will be less loss of life based on your action to expedite this regime's collapse. That's what the Iranian people are expecting from you. And let me reiterate, as I said again, we're not waiting for you to act to continue our fight. We are. But imagine how much more we can protect more innocent lives from dying by acting and helping us today. These are critical moments that are game changers, not just for us Iranians, but for the whole world. This is what we need from you, so help us.
Reuters. Microphone over here, please.
Thank you. Humaira Pamuk from Reuters. In an interview a couple of days ago, President Trump actually expressed some doubts about your support inside Iran. How are you planning to win him over, convince him that you do have the support that you say you do? Also, you're talking about thousands of potential defectors, but the IRGC and other forces have hundreds of thousands. So how are you going to assert your control over this establishment? And are you anytime soon going to meet with President Trump? Are you making an active effort? Thank you.
President Trump has said that it's up to the Iranian people to decide, and I totally agree. I've always said it's for the Iranian people to decide. And I think the Iranian people have already demonstrated in great numbers who it is that they want them to lead to this transition. So I'm confident that I have the support of my compatriot, and it's for the international leaders to assess the fact on the grounds and see who is capable of doing that. I believe I can, and I have the Iranian people's support. And of course, if anybody in the world is willing to help the Iranian people achieve that goal, that's what I'm trying to do, to help them liberate themselves and attract as much support as I can internationally to be behind the Iranian people this time and on the right side of history. Now, as far as the defection goes, this campaign has started months ago. We started this, in fact, I announced it in another press conference I had in Paris a few months ago. Some of you might have heard about it, at which point we established a system whereby people who want to defect or want to access us or want to indicate their interest to join with us have a secure means of communicating their intentions to us. Since then, tens of thousands have applied. Many of them are from the security forces in Iran, police force, military, IRGC, and we are vetting them as we're speaking. And the mechanism for defection does exist, but most importantly is the principle of having an exit strategy. And on that I've said, anyone whose hand is not soiled in the blood of the Iranian people will survive regime change. We're not talking about de-Baathification. We're not talking about the disaster of post-Saddam Hussein, post-Gaddafi collapse. We're not going to have a failed state. And for me to be able to guide a smooth transition, I'm counting on security forces to be the element that keeps the country secure, protects people's lives and their livelihood, and be part of the solution. As a result, we have already seen people indicating their cooperation. We have already seen elements that refuse to be used as an instrument of repression, which is why the regime is now, as we speak, importing elements from outside the country to be the instrument of repression, as they're running out of their own forces to do that for them inside Iran. And all of this is the indication of the beginning of that collapse. Hopefully, by more support from the outside world, by a determined strike on the regime's elements that are the instrument of repression, as I stated in my opening remarks, in my opinion, that will expedite the process and will also increase the number of defections to be more rapid, so that we are not faced with remnants and pockets of resistance as much as possible. There's never going to be 100% defection, but there comes a point where the regime sees it's futile, and hopefully by then Khamenei will be joining Bashar in Moscow and will be rid of him.
This gentleman here.
So good morning, thank you. Ben Leo from GB News in London. In London, sir, in England, we have Iranian sleeper cells on their way to the Israeli embassy accused of trying to blow up the embassy. We have a former Iranian government minister living in North London, living in a council house actually, who supported the fatwa on Salman Rushdie, praised Soleimani, so on and so on. Why is it in Britain's interests, and indeed the West, for this Islamic regime to fall, please?
Look, I'm sorry, could you repeat? I want to make sure I understood your question. Could you repeat it, please? The end part?
We have lots of Iranian sleeper cells and activity in London.
Right.
3 people were arrested trying to blow up the Israeli embassy. Some months ago, there's a former government minister living in North London who supported Soleimani, backs the fatwa on Rushdie. We have lots of Iranian activity in the UK connected with the regime here in Iran. Sorry. Why is it in Britain's interests and the West's for this regime to fall?
Right. Well, I'm glad you asked the question because, in fact, one of the topics that I raised in some discussions I had the last time I was in London with former prime ministers was exactly to explain to them the mapping of every instrument that the regime is using under Khamenei's direct supervision through so-called centers through which they antagonize British citizens and, of course, many of those sleeper cells that you indicated. It doesn't stop in England, by the way. They are in America as well. So we're trying to explain to various governments the whole methodology that the regime is using with assets they have on the ground in respective countries, not to mention money laundering that goes on in many countries, including in Great Britain. So there are many ways that they can push back against that and protect not only the citizenry of whether it's Great Britain or America, but in what way it connects to why we need to do that ultimately by putting an end to the regime. And one thing that is now becoming even more clear, and the fact that the regime could be threatening the world as a last gasp, we should not allow this regime to catch a second wind and be able to do further damage, which is why the strike is not just needed to help the Iranian people overcome this unfair disadvantage, but it's also one way to completely dismantle the regime's aspect of threatening and cut off the chain of income that it uses to fund all of these operations, including the sleeper cells, which is why I'm also calling for any means to cut off the lifeline to the regime, which is its revenue from whether it's oil exports or whatever other means of income that they have. We need to dry the well that funds terrorism once and for all against the Iranian people and the world.
So, hello. Dan Rivers from ITV News in the UK. 2 US aircraft carriers are heading, we understand, to the Gulf, and Donald Trump has said help is on its way, but they may take up to 10 days to get there, and meanwhile more and more people are dying. Are you losing faith in President Trump?
I believe the president is a man of his word, as I said before. How many days it might take, who knows, hopefully sooner than later. But as I said before, regardless of whether action is taken or not, we as Iranians have no choice to carry on the fight. We're halfway across the river. There's no turning back. We will continue. The quicker the action happens, the more lives can be saved, and the sooner we can see the regime's collapse. So timing is, of course, important. And I would still believe in the president's commitment that help is on the way.
But does he need to do something today, tomorrow, to help your fellow countrymen who are dying?
I'm not the president's advisor. All I can say that Iranians are, of course, right now as we speak, witnessing the kind of massacre that has been unprecedented in human history. And this is why the urgency becomes quite clear. The timing, I leave it to the experts to decide. All I can say is the sooner the better.
Okay, I'm going to call now Ben Amini from Manitou. Microphone over here, please.
Sorry, there's too much bright light. I can't see who is where. Okay, now I see you.
Thank you. Thank you. علا از نخستین من بهنام امینی هستم از تلویزیون من و تو. از نخستین روزهای انقلاب ملت ایران من و تو گزارش‌های متعددی از شهروندان دریافت کرد مبنی بر اینکه بخشی از نیروهای سرکوب در خیابان‌ها ایرانی نیستند. این موضوع گمانه‌زنی‌های درباره حضور شبه نظامیان خارجی به ویژه از عراق و لبنان را ایجاد کرده. موضوعی که امروز با گزارش رسانه‌های بین‌المللی درباره ورود دست کم 5000 نیروی مزدور از عراق برای سرکوب مردم ایران جدی‌تر شده. شما به عنوان رهبر انقلاب ملت ایران این گزارش‌ها را چطور ارزیابی می‌کنید و حضور اونها نشانه چیست؟ سپاسگزارم.
ببین این دقیقاً علامتی است از ضعف نظام به مفهوم این که حتی عوامل خودی به اندازه کافی نداره برای سرکوب مردم و مجبور میشه از بیرون عوامل خارجی رو وارد بکنه. اگه این نظام امکاناتش رو داشت از نظر ایجاد رعب و ترس نیازی به وارد کردن عوامل خارجی نمی بود. این نشانه ضعفشونه و یأسشونه. البته توحششون مشهوده، چون میدونن که به آخرین طریق ممکن میخوان در مردم ایجاد تردید و ترس بکنن. فکر کنم مردم ایران برای این ترس غلبه کردن. اما وقتی که میبینیم این نظام دست به این کار میشه، اینجاست که جامعه بین‌المللی باید متوجه بشه که این نظام حتی حاضر عواملی از خارج بیاره بر سرکوب مردم خودش و تا این حد بقیه هست. به هر حال من فکر کنم که دنیا امروز تصمیم گرفته برای عکس‌العمل نشان دادن و به زودی شواهدش رو خواهیم دید. A quick translation for those of you who don't speak Farsi. The question related to the regime's importing foreign elements into Iran to use as a mechanism of repression. And I said that this is a clear indication of the regime's weakness, that it cannot even count on its own forces to do the dirty job, and it has to resort to bring people from the outside. But reason more for the world to realize that as this desperation act of the regime to try to brutalize its own people as a last gasp effort cannot be left unanswered, which is why we're calling for the world to help us out.
Thank you. AFP, please.
Thank you very much. Sean Tandon with AFP. Nice to see you. Could I follow up? The momentum, you mentioned that that's in the hands of Iranians, but at what point is it too late for the intervention that you're talking about from President Trump? Could there be the sense that he's talked for over 10 days about help is on the way? Is there a sense that that could actually weaken the momentum? And specifically, you said at the beginning that there should be targeting of the Revolutionary Guards. Do you mean necessarily military strikes? How should the Revolutionary Guards be targeted? Thanks.
Right. It's never too late. Any fight for freedom doesn't have a deadline. Some of you reporters have deadlines to make your reports, but this fight doesn't have deadline. We will fight until we win. That is the national will of the Iranian people. We are all going to fight until we win. The only question is, what are the elements that can expedite it? And the immediate issue remains, what will hurt the regime most? By dismantling its apparatus of state terror and repression. A lot of it are the regime's military, paramilitary assets, mostly IRGC targets. So I'm calling for a surgical strike on those means. And I think it should be quite obvious to any of you. How do you weaken the regime's first and foremost means of instituting terror at home or terrorism abroad? And all ties, the targets are quite obvious. You're not going to hit a factory or a school or a hospital. Clearly, it's obvious what the targets should be. And the regime knows it. And that's exactly what those who have to decide how to decide what should be the legitimate targets will decide upon it. I think the Iranian people naturally say the people who hurt us the most should be the first one to be targeted. And I think that it should be quite obvious what should be done, in my opinion.
CBS. CBS here. Newsmax.
Good morning, sir. President Trump, up to this point, as we know, has decided not to take military action up to this point. He recently said that the killing has stopped, the planned executions have been halted, Is it your belief that American intervention, specifically military intervention, is necessary for this current movement today to be successful?
As I said in my opening remarks, the Iranian people are defenseless on the streets, unarmed against a regime that is unleashing on them with military weapons, AK-47s, assault cars, trying to rip them apart. And these are the odds that are not fair for a nation that is trying to overcome a regime by means of protesting peacefully on the streets. So the only way you can equalize the playing field is to help them have a better chance by weakening the regime's apparatus of repression. And these are mostly paramilitary institutions such as the IRGC. IRGC has been the main instrument of the regime's repression at home and terror abroad. So clearly, any strike on those entities will facilitate our task, will prevent more loss of lives, and will weaken the regime to a point that resistance will be futile. And we will try to encourage the regime's top echelon to ultimately depart, and the rest of society will know the regime is now totally crumbling, and we are prepared to collect the rest of them that will then rally around the people and stand with them, and hopefully we can enter the phase of transition. This is pretty much the scenario I see unfolding, but right now, the decision is in the process of being made. I'm not going to speculate where it is right now. I'm not going to go follow every headlines that the news says in any news cycle. There's a lot that is happening and it's unfolding, and I'd rather not speculate. All I say is that if action happens, great. If it doesn't, we will still fight. The difference is it will be longer, costlier to us as a nation, more loss of life. And if the world does care about Iranian loss of life, then they better act and equalize the playing field for us so we'll have a better chance to succeed with less casualties and less deaths in the process.
This gentleman here.
Thank you. Robert Tate from The Guardian. Mr. Pahlavi, you have said you have a detailed plan to lead the transition when the regime falls. Does that include establishing a constitutional monarchy on the basis of the one that your father was head of? Or do you foresee yourself as merely a transitional or temporary figure? And if so, how would that differ from the vow of Ayatollah Khomeini in 1979, who said at the time of the revolution that he would simply be a transitional figure who would return to home and would retire from active politics only to set up a repressive theocracy? I mean, can you give a pledge that you would not be a second Ayatollah Khomeini?
I invite all of you after this press conference, and I have some of our experts available to you to explain all of this process in more details. One of the projects that I started a few years ago is called IPP, Iran Prosperity Project. This project is meant to address all of the issues, beginning with the first 100 days of how to manage the transition and stabilize the country. Short midterm range, anywhere between 6 months to 2 years of the rest of the normalization phase, and ultimately Iran's development down the line. Many documents have been generated with the help of legal experts, economists, and others to explain the chronology of events. But in relationship to your question, the way we have proposed the process to go is that the minute the regime collapses, the transitional government takes control. It works towards working in a process where we have its own judiciary branch, executive branch, legislative branch, and temporary parliament to oversee the elections of ultimately a national assembly. By first allowing the Iranian people, after about 4 months' time and many other debates, what is the form they would like to have as a future system of governance by means of referendum. Whatever the majority of the Iranian people decide, their representative in a constitutional assembly will be tasked with the responsibility to draft the constitution of this next system and present that constitutional project to the nation. The nation will have the opportunity to either ratify that proposed constitution, or if not, send it back to that constitutional assembly to rewrite it whatever way is fitted, again submit it to a secondary referendum. If in the second referendum there's still no consensus in majority, that Constitutional Assembly would dissolve, a new Constitutional Assembly will be created, and the process will...
Uh-oh, it's buffering. I didn't do it. It's buffering. I can't show the video because I got hit on YouTube. Let's try a refresh. I don't know.
Again, occur until finally we have a ratified proposed constitutional project. Once that happens, the first parliament of this new democracy will be elected, and the first government of that new system will be elected. If it's a republic, a president will be elected. If it's a monarchy, the prime minister will be elected. At that time, the transitional government dissolves itself and passes over and hands over the responsibility and the authority to the newly elected government based on that new constitution. This is the process from beginning to end. My role in all this is to lead this transition, help with the transitional structure, bring in all the elements that check all the boxes, because the country has to function. Day one, somebody has to pick up the trash. The train has to run on time. Basic services have to be provided. And at this stage, what we are inviting to have the quickest, smoothest transition, the maximum participation, on the one hand, of the military and paramilitary forces to play their role, and the civil society and the bureaucracy to be also in place to be able to address these things. So the majority of these instruments are already in place. And again, against the model of de-Baathification, we count on the majority of these people to remain in their jobs. We want to make sure that the world can help us, so the transitional government can pay salaries so people can maintain their jobs and do all of that. All of these things have been studied and explained in details. And as I said, I invite you to study those, I don't know, I think at least 170 pages of it. And as I said, we have our experts here who can further in detail explain to all of you what is it exactly that we propose. But in a nutshell, this is what we're doing, and this is the process you can expect and anticipate.
Thank you. On BFM.
My name is Anton Hollard with BFM TV, French television. In France, the government has been criticized for being too soft by saying that the regime is too brutal. What is your message to the President of France, and what do you expect from him to put pressure on the regime? Thank you.
Again, I think the more we have solidarity from the international community, and France is a very important country. The relationship that France has had with Iran goes back centuries. I know many French people. I know their sympathy and their appreciation and love of Iranian culture and whatever it is that we stand for. And we had very good relationships in the past. The question is, what is the behavior of this regime? Does it adhere in any simple way to the very principles that France stands for: égalité, fraternité, liberté, laïcité, all those main principles that we're fighting for. So as the president of a democratic, secular, laïc nation, and as I said, one of the top principles is separation of church and state, I think the message should be clear, that the French people and its government stand on the side of people who seek the same liberties, the same human rights, the same freedom of religions, and the same protection of equality of citizens under the law that the French people enjoy in France. And we would like, as Iranians, to have it in Iran. So this is an important message. Are we continuing to go and appease a regime that is murdering its own people? Or is it time to abandon that path and now stand with the Iranian people and help them in their liberation? It's a very simple choice to make. And I advise the French president, if I may, to heed the call of millions of Iranians who turn towards the free world and say, what says you? Are you with us? And I hope the French president would say at the end of the day that he stands with the Iranian people.
Just a follow-up in French. Est-ce que vous avez été déçu par la réponse d'Emmanuel Macron, qui a été assez molle, entre guillemets, face à la répression brutale du régime?
Écoutez, comme je vous l'ai dit, c'est un crime contre l'humanité qui se passe en Iran actuellement. Ça dépasse toutes les limites de tolérance possible, ou de vouloir dire qu'on veut garder une ligne de communication pour des raisons de négociation diplomatique, etc. Je pense qu'on a déjà dépassé ce cap. Il ne reste qu'une seule solution. Éviter un massacre, éviter un bain de sang, éviter qu'un pays qui peut être un élément de stabilité, dans l'intérêt stratégique de l'Occident, une fois débarrassé de ce régime, mettra fin non seulement à la misère et la répression chez nous, mais en même temps profitera à ce que le monde puisse enfin respirer, soulagé, d'avoir pas un problème d'avoir encore à abriter d'autres réfugiés qui doivent venir sur le territoire européen déjà saturé, plus dans l'intérêt économique de ce pays, un pays qui peut vous fournir pendant des décennies au niveau énergique le nécessaire pour n'avoir pas à faire face à un blackmail chaque hiver par la Russie, par exemple, et l'Iran peut s'apprêter à ça. La question, c'est quel Iran? Je pense que le choix est évident. Donc, je pense que l'administration, que ce soit Emmanuel Macron ou d'autres chefs d'État européens, doivent regarder aujourd'hui quel est ultérieurement le meilleur intérêt de leur pays. Est-ce qu'un Iran libre sera mieux placé pour satisfaire leurs intérêts ou ce régime sanguinaire et terroriste? Simple question. Ce n'est pas à moi de répondre. Je vous dis tout simplement l'attente des Iraniens. Maintenant, c'est au président français ou d'autres leaders de décider finalement où est-ce qu'ils se placent.
The lady here. Would you just get for a microphone?
Thanks, Michelle Kellerman with NPR. You mentioned that you wanted to see the Ayatollah in exile in Moscow, but the Russians are providing political cover for the Iranians at the UN. Today, Putin called Netanyahu to present himself as a peacemaker. What do you think the Russians are doing? Do you think Trump could believe the Russians in this case?
You know, once the dust settles, as far as the Iranian people are concerned, and how in this game of geopolitics things sometimes unfold in one direction or the other, even Moscow is considering, what if this regime is no longer there? Then what? The Chinese are doing the same. They've been very quiet lately, not taking any position. So I'd rather not speculate, but simply say that a stable Iran, a strong Iran, a democratic Iran will not be antagonistic to anyone's interest, including Russia and China. What we want as Iranians is a fair deal. We don't want to be taken advantage of in lopsided, unfair deals that is against the national interest of Iran simply because a corrupt regime and weak is offering concessions left and right. We want to have a fair relationship with everyone. It's a normal interest for us to look towards the West, primarily because we are focused on democratic free nations to partner with in alliance and cooperation. And of course, our immediate neighborhood, which is why it is crucial for the world to understand that a different Iran will be committed to cordial relations with our immediate neighbors, with Israel, with the Saudis, and the rest of them in the Arab world, and the rest of the countries in our immediate neighborhood. And that extends to everybody else, provided, of course, that we as a sovereign nation are able to protect our liberties and our rights, and will deal accordingly and reciprocally with anybody respecting that, based on mutual respect. That's the end of the subject. So whatever we see now happening depends on the clarity of the ultimate outcome. The more the Iranian people are empowered, the more we can then tell the world, we as Iranians, unlike this regime, are committed to peace, are committed to stability, are committed to improve the lives of people by means of trade, commerce, cooperation, and everything else that this regime has taken away from us. Iran today should have been the next South Korea of the Middle East. Iran at the time had 5 times the GDP of South Korea. Today we have become North Korea. Not because we don't have the human resources. Not because we don't have the natural resources, but because we have a governance that doesn't give a damn about the people and the livelihood, that have exploited our nation and its resources, that has impoverished our nation while funding radical extremist terrorist groups and proxies in the region and beyond, have outstretched their arms all the way to Latin America, and are still standing there only because the delay in their collapse was a result of appeasement. The game changer is enough is enough. The game changer is these people deserve better. And they have proven that unlike this regime that hates the Western world in particular, and particularly the United States, that wants to wipe off a country off the map of the world, we as Iranians are committed to a different future. I went to Israel 2 years ago to show that we are the descendants of Cyrus the Great, who 25 centuries ago helped Jewish slaves be freed from the Babylonian government, helped them rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, a country that in the Second World War period gave refuge to Jews escaping the tyranny of Hitler, a country that, unlike this regime, wants to have cordial relationship with the state of Israel and the rest of our neighbors, a country that holds high in our principles and values the first Declaration of Human Rights that Cyrus the Great provided, that was inspiring people like Thomas Jefferson and was encoded into the American Bill of Rights and Constitution or Declaration of Independence. We have pride in that. And the children of Cyrus are not telling you that we are committed to that. That's when I talk about the Cyrus Accords is in that spirit. This is not me saying it. This is our nation, its culture, its national identity. And this is your truest friend that is now being clobbered, as you saw in that video, by a regime that is un-Iranian and is a threat to all of us. And this is what's at stake, simply at the end of the day. So it's better for all of us to now think of how different the world will be with a liberated Iran. And this is our moment in time. This is Iran's chance to finally, after 47 years, liberate itself. And I hear people from across the world. I see how much sympathy now there is for Iranians, from Australia to Argentina to Canada to Sweden to many, 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 many countries that are standing with the Iranian people. The people do. Now it's time for their governments to be online and on par with the expectation of various countries that are demonstrating their support for the Iranian people, and even they ask their respective governments to act. It's not just Iranians asking the outside world to act. People in different countries are beginning to ask their governments to act. And I hope that such governments hear their people and our people and stop listening to the regime that has been lying to them deceitfully and is hanging on to power by yet trying to find another opportunity to get out of this quagmire. Let's not give them that chance yet again.
I'm afraid last two questions, BBC Persia and then NDTV. BBC Persia first. Is that BBC Persia?
خشیار جانی به BBC Persian. شاهزاده من با اجازهتون فارسی سوال میپرسم. شما زمانی که تظاهرات بود در ایران در زمان پس از مرگ مهسا امینی صحبت از اتوبوسی کردید که از همه دعوت کردید سوار این اتوبوس بشن. الان در خیابون‌های ایران، تهران، مشهد، اصفهان، شهرهای کوچیک و بزرگ اسم شما و خانواده شما رو صدا می‌کند. آیا هنوز این دعوت وجود داره برای اینکه از دیگران بخواهید که سوار این اتوبوس بشن، همراهی کنند؟ و اینکه بعضی از بخش‌های جامعه ممکن هست که نگرانی‌هایی داشته باشند، قشر مذهبی یا بعضی از اقلیت‌ها، پیام شما برای اونها چه هست؟ خیلی ممنونم.
اولا بگم البته ببینید اون 4 شرایط اصلی رو که بیان کردم، یعنی هر کسی اساساً مسئله تمامیت ارضی ایران، مسئله جدای دین از حکومت، مسئله برابری شهروندان در مقابل قانون و حقوق فردی و نهایتاً حق انتخاب آزاد برای تعیین سرنوشت خودشون رو قبول و باور داشته باشن، مسافرین این به اصطلاح اتوبوس هستند و خواهند بود. برای همه افرادی که همگن و همسو با این حداقل اصول همبستگی هستند میتونن با هم کار بکنن. نمونهش این بود که چند ماه پیش در مونیخ در اون کنفرانس همبستگی داشتین، واضحاً دیدید که انواع اقسام جریانات، چپ، راست، پادشاهی خواه، جمهوری خواه، نمایندگان اقوام، نمایندگان اقشار مذهبی، ورزشکاران، هنرمندان، همه گونه طیف در اونجا بودن، چون بر اساس این اصول توافق داشتن. ما اکنون کسانی داریم، فرض بفرمایید خیلی هم مشخصاً موضع‌گیری کردن. من صحبت از مولوی عبدالحمید رو میکنم به عنوان نمونه و به عنوان مثال به عنوان رهبر مذهبی سنی در منطقه بلوچستان که کاملا اعتقاد به این مسئله جدای از این از حکومت دارند و فکر میکنم بسیاری از روحانیون کشور ما نیست که جزوی از این نظام و حکومت نیستند این رو نیز باور دارن و دست کم نمایندگان اقواممون و مذاهب مختلفمون میدونن که از زمانی که این نظام سر کار اومد تبعیض جنسی، مذهبی و قومی رو شروع کرد. ما همچین مشکلی قبلا نداشتیم و ضمانت این در آینده و قانون اساسی که محافظ حقوق بشر شهروندان ایران باشه تمام این ضمانت‌ها رو مجددا برقرار خواهد کرد. بنابراین هیچ عاملی برای نگرانی یا از غافل عقب موندن یا حقوق برابر نداشتن آنن از بین میره و بنابراین در اون آینده خواهند تونست که در آزادی کامل و در برابری کامل شهروندان متعدد اون مملکت یکپارچه باشند. این تعهدی است، نه فقط تعهد من، با تعهد تمام کسانی که معتقد به اون رسول هستند و اکنون در این جبهه واحد با هم داریم کار میکنیم تا این مسئله رو پیش ببریم.
Last question, NDTV.
Thank you, Crown Prince. This is Lalit Jha from NDTV. People of Iran has had a strong historical, cultural, and civilizational ties with India. What is your message?
I'm sorry, you're talking a bit too fast. Could you please enunciate so I can hear you properly? Thank you.
Lalit Jha, representing NDTV, an Indian news channel.
Yes.
People of India has had a strong cultural, civilizational ties with Iran.
Yes.
Right. Two questions. What is your message to the people of India, and what kind of relationship would you like to have with India? Thank you.
Well, I remember the days where, of course, visits that we had, and I think Prime Minister Gandhi had visited Iran. I was very young at the time. So the relationship goes a long time. Culturally, it goes many, many years, but in modern history, we had very good relations, of course, with India. And it's natural, as I said, that a democratic Iran is committed to have the best possible relationship in the context of sovereignty and liberty, to have the best possible relationship with any country that adheres to the same values and can work with us and can partner with us in many different domains. And of course, it's a rich culture and a rich history that we observe in India as well. I think we can, as nations, be very proud of our heritage. And this could be a natural path to a very good bond and cooperation. Look, we have so many challenges to face in our planet. We have issues of energy, we have issues of population, we have issues of energy shortages, we have water crisis, we have so many different things. And that's where I think the world needs to really rise up and reach each other hands for cooperation. The four corners of this world have to remain connected. We cannot be introverted. We cannot be isolationists. We need to be able to work together. And the closer ties we have, the better we can address. India is one of the leading countries when it comes to technology, when it comes to expertise. I think these are the kind of things that will help us in every area that we need to focus on, new renewable energies, IT, whatever it is out there. And I'm looking forward to have our experts, our entrepreneurs, our business sector, and anybody else working very closely with our Indian counterpart. Hopefully, once we are freed, we can start an entirely new chapter.
No, I think that's it. I think thank you very much, though, for your question, sir. Thank you very much for coming today from the ladies and gentlemen of the press. Thank you.
You know, a lot of people out there saying, what plan? There's no plan. Oh, it is well done. What I'm reading, well done. And giving the people the choice. Now people say, oh, they could say that now, like the question that came up from the reporter. Well, that was said with the Ayatollah. What makes you different? So, I mean, it really is up to the people of Iran. This is extensive. And I'm reading about bringing the judicial system, bringing people the right to have representation of lawyers. And I'm reading this already, and there's a lot to go. I'm impressed so far on this plan. I am impressed. Now, to implement it and to keep word on that plan is another thing. But I am impressed. So the people that are the naysayers saying there is no plan, there is a plan. And they've been working on this plan for months. Oh yeah, I forgot I was muted. I was yelling at Mom. This is a well done plan. I've been reading it. Well done. This is very thorough and extensive, bringing the people the right to have representation by lawyers. It almost sounds similar to our government, the judicial, executive, legislative. Like I said, I've been reading it, showing it on the screen and reading it, like skimming through it. The people that are the naysayers of this, obviously, are just anti-Reza Pahlavi, and, you know, they support the regime, obviously. And you're going to have also the people that can't stand him, like the MEK people that don't want to see the crown prince return as a king. So you're going to always have that kind of opposition. And, of course, the extremist point also. So, to me, so far, what I've read, and this is extensive, and somebody said it, Geo, he's going to take the time to read this, so am I. I'm actually impressed on a lot of what I'm reading here. And it's going to have its challenges. There's just no doubt about it. It's going to, of course, have its challenges. But thank you for providing that link, because I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. I was scouring that site because I did find the Iran Prosperity Project site, but I couldn't find it on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, where is it? But thanks to and yes, X. A lot of people are having problems with X. Thanks to Sep for sharing it. And this is just a quick outline. Again, you know, you're going to have people agree, disagree. I'm just going to show what it says. You reach your own conclusions. 10 principles for prosperous economy. Here, and again, here's the complete project information. And I downloaded the PDF. And this is in Persian, but thankfully, you gave me the English translated version, which I downloaded the PDF because it's always good to have that, so you can always bring it up. But this is extensive. And it is, to me, this is well thought out and well done. Just based on the little bit that I've seen so far, I have yet to read the whole thing. But what I've read, I'm impressed. This is my opinion. So, of course, you know, there are going to be haters out there, people that don't want to see certain things happen. You know, that goes with the territory. But it's going to take a lot of work. And it's going to take a lot of time. You know, a lot of people think that a revolution happens in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Are you kidding me? It's like people just want things to happen so rapidly. It takes time. I mean, this isn't a movie. This isn't Hollywood. This is real life. And I know people's lives are at stake. But right now, because they're under martial law. There aren't many people on the streets protesting at this moment. There are still some throughout the country. But my concern is they're not going to go house hunting and detain people. And even though there may not be mass executions going on now, that doesn't mean they're not going to happen in the future. So this is scary, a scary lull moment. Could you imagine how terrified they are sitting in their homes under martial law, not knowing what the hell is going to happen, or somebody's going to come crashing through their door, armed to the teeth? Who knows if they'll take them alive? They can falsely accuse them as working with the Mossad. Oh, you're part of the ringleaders with the Mossad. No due process, no trial, none of that. Judge, jury, bang, done. I hate to say it like that, but this is a ruthless, ruthless regime against their people. So there's no excuses to be made. People can try to make excuses because of their support for the regime. They'll do whatever it takes. Look at the propaganda that was coming out of the Russian idiot. Forget about the Iranian. That was just off the scale. Lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. Oh, but you say it's lies. Prove it. Well, when two people are there and they're telling the world from their own experience what's going on, oh, they're just working for the U.S. government. Everything has a deflection, an excuse. Do we not see what's going on here with clear vision? What the hell's been going on here for decades? No? Mom, don't do it now. What happened, Mom? You want me to look out the window? Somebody's dragging something outside? Let me see. Let me see. I'm coming. Where's going? Outside the house? Where? Your window? The cat sit on the windowsill. Sorry. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. No, they love that. I knew it. It's the cat sitting on the windowsill on the warm side of the house getting sun. The cat is sitting right by her window outside to get the warmth from the sun. And there's no wind. It's cut off. So the cat is like laying in the sun on the windowsill. Yes, X is having major outages. Revolutions this size and this big take time, but also Mr. Okay. Set. We don't know the circumstances of why the president makes his decisions. I honestly think there are major factors involved by not putting American servicemen and women at risk if they were to do a strike and the retaliation from Iran. Not only the threat to our personnel, because obviously the president is looking out for our best interest, the safety of our people, and also taking into consideration the threat to Israel. So it's not a black and white issue. This is complicated. And I know, and I'm not making excuses, but if you look at this from a practical point of view, they're not just ready to do it. They're not. Especially when Qatar says you can't fly out of our bases. Saudi Arabia, you're not using our bases. What the hell are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? A limited strike and allow the IRGC to strike back? It has to be big. It can't be a small strike. If you're going to do it, you got to go big. And you got to make it count. And you got to make an impact. And you gotta try to decapitate the IRGC as much as possible to remove as much threat in a retaliatory strike. You know what I mean? If I were to make a counterpoint, I can say Iran has attacked U.S. citizens on U.S. soil. Oh no, they attack people all over the world. They're proxies. How many incidents have happened over the last few decades that their proxies are responsible? Of course, I get that. Look at what happened in Beirut, in Lebanon. I have a friend that was there when that happened. And I mean, how many U.S. servicemen and women died on that attack? So believe me, we know. And that's why politicians say they have American blood on their hands. We know this. But then you'll hear other people say, well, the United States are defending the Zionist regime. They're just trying to fight against this illegitimate state. You know, you'll have back and forth. You know, so because you know, a lot of the Arab countries still do not recognize the state of Israel. How many do? And that's always been an issue from the get-go, from the beginning. And it's in their view, the state of Israel is illegitimate. It does not belong to them. It belongs to the Palestinian people. And the people that were there before it was created, all of a sudden by governments, and say, oops, this is for Israel. So there's that point too. There's a lot that has been going on for decades. It's complicated, and you know this. Alexa, how many Arab countries recognize Israel as a state?
As of January 2026, 6 Arab countries recognize Israel: Egypt, Jordan, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, and Sudan.
And what are the countries that do not?
15 Arab League members don't recognize Israel: Algeria, Comoros, Djibouti, Iraq, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Mauritania, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Syria, Tunisia, and Yemen.
That's a big problem right there alone. And if you heard, Alexa, stop. And if you heard a lot of the narrative, who are the countries that are supposedly telling Trump not to attack? The ones that don't recognize Israel. Is that a coincidence? They don't want to empower Israel in the region by creating relations with Persia, Iran. They don't want that because Reza said that he's going to immediately recognize the state of Israel. Do you honestly think they want that? And add into that the Sunni Shia issue? They don't want that. So again, I'm just bringing out points. This is a lot more complicated than just face value. There's a lot of underlying currents going on here. Just think about the countries that asked the president not to strike. They are all countries that do not recognize Israel. They don't want to see Israel recognized. They don't want to help Israel. They don't want to do anything that can change the region in that way, that shift, that global shift. If you think about it. So I honestly think that the president will act. Eventually, I do. But when he thinks that it can be done with, I would say, precision and have a result that he thinks that is satisfying as far as removing as many as the targets that they have in mind to try to cripple the IRGC. Can they do it now? Maybe. And again, to the safety of our people at our bases, and of course, Israel. So, you know, and I know it's horrible what's happened in Iran. Trust me. I've been talking about this now for 2 weeks. It's horrible to see what's going on. I mean, there's no other way to put this. But I honestly think that the president will act at some point. And a lot of people, and I also think, if you think about it, a lot of people are thinking the same way. He's not going to do anything. That may be exactly what he wants people to think. That he's not going to act. And then, bang. Because a lot of people are starting to doubt it now. The media is pushing it. A lot of people are discouraged and they think nothing's going to happen, especially the people of Iran. They're like confused and what happened? That does not mean he's abandoned them. It just means the timing is not right. But I do think there will be a time, just like Reza said, Pahlavi said it himself, hopefully it's sooner rather than later. And you heard him. He just called it straight out. The strikes, or strike. He said it. They need to strike. So, do you think, because they're in communication with each other, do you think the president would want him to say something like that? You know? And I know Ivan's point of view. I get it, Ivan. Oh, it's coming. It's coming, Ivan. You still say no. Oh, it's coming. And it's going to be like a shock and awe moment. It's going to just decapitate them. And a lot of people think no because they may be backing up the regime, or maybe they're backing up communism or Russia or China or whatever. Nah, it's not going to happen. We'll see. What's up, Marco? Let me see. But who is this tactic for the regime or me and you? Because regime obviously is going to calculate this. Of course they are. You don't think they're preparing for an incoming? Of course they are. They would be stupid and foolish not to. Because if me and you and a lot of people think this is a 5D chess move, trust me, Iran, we know this too. Of course they do. I even seen things that were posted. Iran's not going to fall for this trick. That the president is putting out this narrative. I saw that. The people within the government of Iran made statements about that. We're not going to fall for another one of his tricks. You think they're not going to stay on high readiness and alert? But how did they do with Israel? Yeah, people say, well, a lot of missiles got through to Israel. You're lucky that Israel didn't finish the job because the president told them to hold back because they were going to take out the regime. The president gave the regime a lifeline because if they wanted to with air superiority, that could have been destroyed. They could have been taken out. They knew where he was. They had the opportunity to totally annihilate the Iranian regime at that point. They were flying over Iran like they owned the place. So you think 6 months, all of a sudden they're going to be able to defend against that? Good luck. Good luck. So people could say whatever. Look, Israel had them right here. They had them. They had them. Yeah, there were missiles coming in and hitting Israel. Yes. But they held back. And definitely the United States held back because there was an opportunity right there, to completely decimate Iran. There was that opportunity. They were completely vulnerable. They had no defense over their own country. So all this bullshit that, oh, the United States is weak or, no, Iran is lucky that they were spared during the 12-day, because if it would have been a 20-day, they would have been gone. Gone. The only concern here is, and it's a valid one, Iran learned Israel's vulnerabilities and what got through and what didn't. That's why China has been helping them upgrade the technology for the missiles. That's why they've been reinforced. And they're developing a certain area of missiles, hypersonics, because they know some of them got through. They know Israel's vulnerabilities after that exchange. Don't think they didn't learn. So that is a valid point. And like I said, what scared me is what somebody that I know that is in the know told me. There's a rumor going around in the inner circle that they're thinking about using a dirty bomb in a retaliatory strike against Israel. Now that, they may not have a nuclear bomb, but a dirty bomb is just as effective in another way for the populace, for the territory. It's done. So that is horrific. But if they do that, they pretty much sign their death sentence. They'd be totally annihilated after that. It would be over. It would be done. It would be done for them. But the civilians is the risk. At what cost to the civilian population? On either side. And the possibility of escalation throughout the region. There's a lot at stake here. It's not so simple. So imagine detonating a conventional weapon with radioactive material. What would that do? It explodes and spreads that material all over the place. It may not have the impact of a nuclear weapon, but it sure will have a severe impact, period. So, Sepp is saying a dirty bomb is a hydrogen bomb. Somebody else mentioned that in another chat. KJ heard that too. I don't know if the dirty meant nuclear or not. Even with that being said, how functional and would it be self-unalive? You don't have to say unaliving. We're not on TikTok. It would be the end. If they were to do something like that and it hit Israel, it would be the end. You think that they got nukes from Russia? Or they have them in secrecy? Even the UN, not the UN, the Atomic Energy Agency said the United States didn't get all of their, when they hit the sites. They have other hidden sites. That was public record. They put it out there. You know, people here in the States think, we wiped out their enrichment program. We got all their bullshit. Even the Atomic Energy said they have undisclosed sites that we're not aware of, that they have it. But, you know, the American people bought into that whole narrative, but they didn't read the report that the inspectors issued, that they had other locations that they had no access to, and they didn't know what the hell was going on. And the probability was they had enriched uranium there. But nobody pays attention to that part. They only were excited about what happened at Fordo and all that. Midnight Hammer, all that. We got them. They're done. Not so fast. Go read the report. So, you know, this is why it is important for whatever action the U.S. decides to do, it needs to be done effectively. The carrier and all of the bases will be danger otherwise as well. They need to be done correct. That's what I'm saying. Kevin, that's exactly what I'm saying. If you're going to do something, it has to be big. It has to be swift. And Iran is a big country. And all it takes, if they're going to do that, could you imagine them making some of these, if I don't know what the hell they're doing, but making some of these hypersonics into a dirty bomb? One would be catastrophic beyond. Just one. And how do you know which one it is? All it takes is one. I mean, Israel's the size of what, New Jersey? It's not going to take much. And that's what's so scary. It's one thing on the conventional level, but when you start going into that next echelon, that is scary shit. Hypersonic missiles on its own is already a big problem, yes. Especially if they know these. Remember, like I said, we all know that some missiles got through. The Iron Dome didn't get certain types. Iran knows this. Iran knows their vulnerability now. And you don't think they're going to try to monopolize on that vulnerability? Of course they are. They know exactly, at least in their minds, how to target Israel now. So there's a lot at stake here. Look at how they're taunting the president. Oh, I know they've been doing a lot of taunting. It's almost like they're inviting it, which is kind of stupid. That's just so foolish. Why would they want to taunt the president? I mean, you're just asking for it. I mean, really. Oh no, I mentioned about this yesterday. I mentioned this about this yesterday. We'll cut off his hand and his finger. I mentioned this yesterday. The senior commander of the IRGC issued a direct threat to President Trump today in response to the president's strong stance on the regime's brutal crackdown on the Iranian people, saying Trump has said his hand is on the trigger. We will cut off his hand and his finger. Yeah, this is from a few days ago. You know, it's a lot of rhetoric. That's not untypical from the regime. They always throw out a lot of rhetoric. But are you supposed to take that like emotionally and act on it? Oh shit, look what they said about me. I'm gonna. It's not nothing new. It happens all the time. Now, it is kind of news today about the second carrier being moved into the area. We knew of the one, the Lincoln. But now the Bush is heading there. 2. Now, do they wait for the second carrier to come? Which is definitely going to take more time. Do we wait for reinforcements to fully be implemented in the area? I don't know. So that would be more like next weekend. And I'm guessing, of course. But some people think it's going to happen this weekend. It's a holiday weekend. The market's closed, you know. Like, what time is it now? It is about 9. No, I'm way off. What is it, like 9 p.m.? What time is it? Alexa, what time is it in Iran? Close to 9?
It's 8:05 p.m. in Iran right
8
now.
o'clock. 8:05 p.m. So, would anything happen in the early morning hours tonight? I don't think so. Is it possible Saturday?
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Alexa, stop. Would it possibly happen Sunday morning there? Maybe. Monday, the carrier would be better positioned and ready to go, I think. Monday morning for them, Sunday afternoon our time here on the East? Possibly. Is it a sooner rather than later? And we do it with the one carrier as the second one is approaching? Or do we wait for the second one to get to its position and have the two of them ready and then go? I don't know. Vahid Navi says, tonight will be fireworks. I'm not so sure about tonight. If I was to say, and I'm guessing, at the earliest tomorrow, or Sunday morning in Iran, or even Monday morning in Iran, because the markets are closed. I don't think it's going to happen that quick. And remember, that's if it happens at all, but I really do think something is coming. But like Ivan said in the chat, that's what I'm talking about the markets. Like Ivan said, he thinks nothing's going to happen at all. They say he will wait until the stock market closes. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It would happen Sunday morning in Iran, which is tomorrow afternoon my time, or this morning after the markets close today. I don't think it's going to happen that soon. It could, or maybe it won't. Who the heck? Any of us could guess. We're not in the know. We don't know. P2 says next weekend. I was sticking to that too. Next weekend. KJ, we definitely need that carrier because Qatar and Saudi Arabia said you can't use our airspace, our bases. Yes. We definitely need those carriers. We can't do it. We can't launch our planes from the bases. Saudi said you're not using ours. Qatar said you're not using ours. So where the hell are we going to launch from? Gotta have the carriers or carrier. And I read an article, I don't think I saved it. And I read this the other day, the importance of having a carrier there by a think tank, a military think tank. And it was right. It was right, after all. I don't think I saved it. I should have saved it. And it was spot on. But I'll never find the article now, which I should have bookmarked it. Okay, I found it. I should bookmark it. I think I found it. Yeah, I got it. So this was dated from January 5th. This is think tank talking. Military people that, they get paid. The January 5th, I'm going to read it again because they were spot on. They nailed it. The January 5th to 2026 snapshot provided the Fleet and Maritime Tracker confirms that none of the U.S. Navy's 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers are operating within the U.S. Fifth Fleet's area of responsibility, a development that marks a decisive break from the post-October 2023 posture of sustained carrier presence following the Hamas attack on Israel. At the center of this redistribution is the Gerald Ford, which has been deployed to the Caribbean Sea under Operation Southern Spear, supporting U.S.-led intervention operations in Venezuela following the January 3rd capture of Nicolas Maduro, thereby diverting the Navy's most advanced carrier away from the Middle East. Stupid. That was a stupid move in itself. Yes, the Maduro people, all that excited. But strategically, stupid. Simultaneously, the Abraham Lincoln flagship of the Carrier Strike Group 3 is operating in the Indo-Pacific after arriving in Guam on December 12, 2025, and subsequently patrolling the Philippine Sea and South China Sea to counter expanding Chinese naval assertiveness. Taiwan. Other carriers, including the USS George Washington, remain tied to forward deployed commitments in Japan, while aging platforms such as the USS Nimitz have returned to the United States for maintenance or decommissioning preparation, collectively constraining surge capacity. This redistribution leaves the Persian Gulf, Red Sea, and Arabian Sea without organic carrier-based air power, a condition not seen in over 2 years, and one that sharply contrasts with the rotational deployments of the Dwight D. Eisenhower and the USS Carl Vinson throughout 2023 and 2025. You got to think about the competence level of this at current administration's people in charge. A podcaster, a Fox reporter. Think of who's in charge. Think of the qualifications of some people that right now are in charge of our military. That's scary in itself to me. From a force planning perspective, the absence reflects a strategic prioritization of near-peer competition and hemispheric contingencies over Middle Eastern crisis response, even as the region remains uniquely prone to rapid escalation. A naval expert quoted in January 5th analysis observed that the U.S. Navy will continue to support its ongoing operations in the Caribbean while trying to maintain a presence in both the Indo-Pacific and potentially the Middle East. But resources are stretched thin. This carrier gap is therefore not accidental, but the consequence of deliberate choices made under finite capacity, choices that now intersect dangerously with Iran's internal destabilization. This strategic redistribution also exposes the growing imbalance between declared U.S. global commitments and the finite availability of high-end naval assets, reinforcing perceptions that carrier presence is increasingly zero-sum rather than the additive across theaters. As a result, the Fifth Fleet's carrier vacuum risks normalizing a reduced U.S. naval footprint in the Middle East, potentially encouraging adversaries to test red lines while allies recalibrate their security expectations around the less predictable American maritime deterrence posture. Oh, there's more. And it's spot on. The absence of carrier groups in the Middle East fundamentally reshapes the operational geometry of any potential U.S. military action against Iran, particularly as President Trump signals readiness to intervene should Tehran escalate its crackdown on protesters. Carrier strike groups function as a mobile sovereign air base, which we need, because they're telling us we can't use theirs. Deploying F-A-18E, F Super Hornets, F-35s, stealth fighters, growlers, etc., capable of penetrating contested airspace, suppressing enemy air defenses, and sustaining high-tempo operations without dependence on regional basing arrangements. Bingo. Bang. Without carriers in theater, Washington must rely on land-based platforms such as B-1B Lancers operating from Diego Garcia or F-22 Raptors stationed in an air base in Qatar, which they can't use now. Assets that lack the same persistence, flexibility, and survivability under missile threat. Repositioning a carrier is not an instantaneous solution, as it would require the Abraham Lincoln several days to transit from the South China Sea across the Indian Ocean at sustained speeds approaching 30 knots, a movement that would immediately be visible to open source intelligence observers. Such visibility would effectively telegraph U.S. intent, granting Iran valuable time to disperse assets, activate integrated air defense systems, and posture its missile and proxy forces, which is exactly what they're doing, thereby degrading the element of strategic surprise. So we're showing our hand, obviously. A defense analysis warned that it is extremely unlikely and incredibly risky to launch strikes against Iran without a carrier or two in the region, emphasizing the exposure of non-carrier options to Iran's layered anti-access area denial architecture. I'll stop. Does anybody disagree with this? While the U.S. maintains approximately 40,000 troops across 19 regional bases, including the Burke-class destroyers capable of launching Tomahawk cruise missiles, these forces are inherently more vulnerable to saturation attacks than a maneuvering carrier strike group. The logistical burden of sustaining operations against a heavily defended state like Iran without carriers therefore magnifies escalation risks and operational costs, narrowing Washington's credible military options. So obviously somebody is aware of this, and they rethought this. It may not have been because of what this country said or this country. We just weren't ready. Compounding these challenges is a political sensitivity surrounding host nations' permissions for the use of regional air bases. Exactly. As an overt participation by Gulf partners could expose them to immediate Iranian retaliation and domestic instability, further constraining U.S. freedom of action. I read this a few days ago. Spot on. It happened. Taken together, the absence of carrier-based aviation forces Washington into a posture where military options against Iran become not only tactically riskier, but strategically brittle, increasing the likelihood that limited strikes could cascade into a wider, less controllable conflict across multiple operational domains, bases, multiple bases, Israel, etc. What the hell was that? And then it's going through what's going on in Iran. I'm just reading. Iran retains an arsenal of more than 3,000 ballistic missiles, a growing inventory of armed drones such as the Shahad 136, and naval capabilities capable of mining the Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly 20% of global oil flows. Proxy forces, including Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Iraqi militias, could be activated simultaneously, targeting U.S. bases, shipping, and energy infrastructure across the region. A Pentagon assessment cautioned that Iran would likely retaliate with drone and missile attacks against dozens of U.S. military bases and other sites across the Middle East, something which the current U.S. military presence in the region would be unable to fully defend against, underscoring the vulnerability created by the carrier absence. Beyond the immediate military calculus, the absence of U.S. carrier strike groups in the Middle East carries far-reaching geostrategic and economic implications that extend well beyond the region. Any disruption to the Strait of Hormuz, whether through Iranian mining operations or missile threats, could trigger a 20 to 30% spike in global oil prices, destabilizing energy markets and fueling inflation worldwide. For Southeast Asian economies such as Malaysia and Indonesia, which rely heavily on Middle Eastern energy supplies, such disruptions would translate into higher import costs, currency pressure, and downstream economic stress. From a financial perspective, even a modest $20 per barrel increase could impose billions in additional annual energy costs, equivalent to approximately 20 billion US dollars across major Asian importers. It goes on and on why the carriers are so important to have. It goes on and on. I could read this all fucking day. So when you ask about the importance of having carriers, there's a lot of reasons. So obviously the people around the president in the military aspect, letting him know these are what would happen. These are your options. This is what would happen, whether it's cyber, economic, military, whatever. And he is not going to go in half-ass. He's going to go when he thinks we are ready to go. Not before. So people are saying, what happened? What happened? What happened? If and when he does this, he wants to make sure that it's to our best ability to do as much impact on the Iranian regime, IRGC, and to minimize the risk to our bases and the retaliatory strikes to Israel. It's as simple as that. It's not complicated. And I think a lot of us can pretty much figure that out. Makes sense, right? And that's a great point that P2 brings up too. What if it's all a distraction and Israel strikes first? Would they? Do you think the president would green light Israel to act before he does? Interesting. I mean, that's an interesting question. I don't think so. I think Netanyahu is waiting on what the president does, not vice versa. He's probably telling Netanyahu, do not do anything unless you feel that you're threatened, that your country is under immediate threat. Otherwise, don't do anything. I don't think so. New Lindsay tweet. And this is definitely not an occupational U.S. forces on the ground deal in Iran. Absolutely not. I don't think anybody in this country wants boots on the ground, including myself. I think there'd be a vast majority consensus. We don't want no boots on the ground. Let's see what Lindsay should be in Israel by now, no? Or heading there? I need to bookmark this carrier thing because people are not aware. And this is from a think tank. And I found it. I was like, oh my God. When I read it and I seen it, and this is recent. And I read it a few days ago. Before all that airspace was closed down, I read about the importance about the carriers. And I read this. And it was spot on. Because a lot of the things that it said in here happened. Refusal of using the bases, all that. This actually predicted. I was like, oh shit. It actually predicted it. So, it's everything is opinion based. It's based on their analysis of looking at a situation. But in this case, their analysis was correct. Not every analysis, it's a theory. It's a hypothesis. It's not set in stone. It's just their perspective, their analysis on something. Doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just an opinion based on their expertise. You can question expertise. But they were right. Oh, he just landed in Israel. I just landed in Israel, the one and only Jewish state and America's strongest ally and friend since its founding. If you think I flew all the way to Israel after having not slept much in days to make sure we do not hold the Ayatollah's murderous regime accountable for the slaughter of its own people, being the largest state sponsor of terrorism with Americans' blood on its hands, and who has an endless quest to cheat and obtain a nuclear weapon to advance their sick religious Nazi beliefs, then you have missed a lot. I look forward to meeting with our Israeli allies to see how we can build up the momentum created by President Trump's bold and unprecedented leadership in Iran, where he picked the people over the Ayatollah. The people are right to demand an end to this regime. We cannot allow this historic moment to pass, and I agree with President Trump. The downfall of the Ayatollah's regime would be on par with the fall of the Berlin Wall. Remember, President Trump is not Obama. I believe he is Reagan plus. Well, we all know, even from past red lines drawn, talk is one thing, action speaks louder. So you can talk all the talk. Will we see action? I believe we will. Unlike past administrations, I believe we will see action. Some people say, no, it's not going to happen. I think it's going to happen. I just don't know when, where, from what source. Obviously, we all don't know. None of us know. Who the hell can say they know? Only the people that know. I mean, my gosh. So all these people that think they know nothing. Only the people that need to know. Even people in Congress don't know because they're afraid of leaks. So there's a very small circle that knows what's about to go down, if anything at all. I'll just say it like that. But this is very small, tight-knit. And now Lindsay's been going crazy for the last week. But that's Lindsay. And a lot of people see him as a war hawk. Obviously. And that's their opinion. And there's some people that I read posts, they never liked Lindsey Graham, but now they do. I've seen that too. So it's like, depending on, where you think and your opinion on and your politics, you're going to look at things differently, obviously. But Lindsey is one to pay attention to because he gets excited, let's just say. He does. And sometimes I think he needs to just chill a little bit because don't get ahead of it. Wait for the president first, then go crazy. Get excited, but hold your horses. Let the president lead it like it's supposed to be. Let the commander-in-chief be the one taking charge. I understand how you're so supportive and, I get it. But chill a little. That would be my advice. Chill, Lindsay, chill. Because then he also brings up the expectations too. Because the people of Iran are looking at all the politicians' posts. Right, Sepp? I mean, I'm sure there are people in here that Lindsay definitely is someone they're paying attention to. Not just the president. There are other politicians, even Ted Cruz. Exactly. The Iranian people are the boots on the ground. Who just wrote that? They just need help to level the playing field, just like Pahlavi said. I totally agree. It's up for the people to make change. But they need a little help to even the playing field here because they're not armed. It's not like the United States with our Second Amendment where we have 350 million guns in households. It's not like that. Now, if it was like that, it'd be a different story because then the people would be on the streets fighting back, literally. But it's not. I mean, you're facing a well-armed regime, and they're using military-grade equipment on the people. That's not a fucking even fight. Under that situation, they'll be living like that forever. They have no chance. It would be a slaughter beyond. It's already a massacre. I would like to know, I really would like to know someone, which is pretty much impossible. What is the numbers? Is it 12,000? Is it 20,000? Is it higher? How many people have been imprisoned, detained? It's insane. All over a matter of 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And I know it's been more than 2 weeks, but I'm saying the crush on the people. I mean, how many people were killed in a short time? A matter of days. Bodies are piling up. It's a freaking massacre. What, Mom? Yeah. I mean, my God. I'm going to do it in a minute for you because I got to get off. I got to do something. Actually, I have something to do. Open source intel reports. Why don't I see the chats appearing? Why is it showing here with Kevin but not there? What the hell is going on? I'm not getting refreshed on YouTube. I'm seeing it on OBS. I'm missing a lot of comments. Oh my God. There's a good video that gives you an idea of what's going on in the most notorious prison in Iran from places. Just search Evin prison on YouTube. The Iranian people are, I guess I read that. Oh, what? My family didn't know the politicians. Now they call them North Korean names and such. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of that analogy similar to what's going on in North Korea. Open source intel reports footage. U.S. forces have departed Deir Hafir and are returning to their bases. Okay. They started firing a few days ago, January 8th. I know the protest started on the 28th. My Boba was doing the same thing earlier. So I'm going to hit that link, the X link that you put there, Kevin. I'm going to get rid of this one. What? I'm going to do that. I'm going to get off in a minute because I got things to do.
Well, you're going to do it now?
Yeah, you want pizza now?
Yeah.
That's what I said. I'm going to do it now.
Oh, okay.
So this is the video that was shared by Kevin, that the military is returning to their bases. And I'll just bring it up again so you could see the post. So yeah, that's the video. And I will check about that prison video too later on this afternoon. All I'm saying is when the president, if and when he does it, make it count. Make it count. Make it count. And I don't want to sound like a war hawk myself, but if you're going to do it, hit them hard. Hit them real hard. This isn't like hitting a few targets. You're going to have to hit multiple targets. And Israel may take the point, listen, we'll help you out because the more we hit, the less that's coming our way. Let us help you. Let us assist you. And we had a lot of responses from people that are either in Iran or are Iranians, and they said, I didn't see one, maybe there's got to be a couple always. The vast majority said, Israel, help us. We welcome it. Join. Help the U.S. hit those targets. We welcome your help. Now, of course, the people on the other side are saying, the Zionists are attacking us. But I guarantee the vast majority of the people in Iran would welcome Israel's help as well. Though many people may not want to hear that. But I bet you the Iranian people would, I would say, the vast majority would say, heck yes, help us. Help free us. We will welcome you here in the future as our friends. No? I think so. Could you imagine the time when that happens? And like I said, what was it? 15 Arab countries do not recognize the state of Israel. How happy do you think they're going to be? Because they're going to see a new power structure going on now. Can you imagine Iran and Israel allies in the region? Not just having dialogue, relationships economically, partnerships in areas, but no. Strategic partners. Pahlavi said he's going to recognize the state of Israel, like right away. Wow. That must have freaked some people out, huh? I think so. And I think a lot of people fear that. They don't want to see that. So, I will be here to see your reaction. It's pizza time. You mean for me or the Pentagon people? Yeah, it's pizza time here, but we got to keep an eye on the pizza in the Pentagon, Sean. I'm just making light of it because, you know, that's been, even, I watch Goldie and I watch 2C, I watch Steve from Agenda Free, and he was even putting up the pizza stuff. I'm like, oh my God, this pizza stuff is everywhere. You know, I was like, my gosh. I will be here to see your reaction. I just, like I said, I just hope that if the president decides, I don't even think it's an if, it's a when, that he hits them really hard. And I'm talking not obviously civilian populace, but the IRGC. Hit them hard. Make them run. Make them run for their lives, literally. Could you imagine? Like a shock and awe moment? They're gonna freaking panic. People are like, oh, the United States is weak. Don't underestimate the United States military force at all. If you do, you're making, this isn't Vietnam era. This isn't Afghanistan. A lot has developed and advanced since then. This is gonna be an ass wiping. Like I said though, you still have to worry about retaliation with a dirty bomb. I'm not even worried about, like some people say, oh, they're gonna send all these missiles, hypersonic missiles to Israel. Yeah, there's gonna definitely be collateral, but a dirty bomb is a game changer. That's what I'm really worried about. impacts here or there is one thing. A dirty bomb is a whole nother thing. That's, my God. Yeah, people are stuck on Vietnam and Afghan. You know what I mean? It's like, were you even born when that shit was going on? I mean, like, do you really know? Caraco. So, go ahead, bet on that. Bet on that. Go ahead. Are you willing to risk it? You're really willing to risk? You're really to risk everything based on? Look what happened in Vietnam and Afghanistan. Oh my. I don't think so. I mean, can you imagine? I know there are still some destroyers sitting near the Red Sea, and there's some others. There's shit there that we just don't know about, that they're there, the subs, everything else. You want to play with missiles in the air? We're going to show you what it looks like with cruise missiles in the air and other stuff going on. You think you've seen a fireworks show? Oh, you're going to see a fireworks show that might be the last thing you ever see by us. I can't believe how people, I mean, I get it. Are you really doubting the President of the United States that he's not going to take action? He'll do it when he's ready, not before. When he thinks it's time to go, it's go time. And when it happens, it's going to be big. This is not going to be limited strikes. This is going to be continual, pounding, boom, boom, boom. This may not just take a few hours. This may take a few days of constant, they won't even have a chance to respond. They're gonna get lit up. That is my opinion. And I definitely could be wrong, but I hope I'm right. Fuck the IRGC, fuck the regime. I'm all about the people of Iran, the president doing what he's got to do, Reza Pahlavi making the transition in government. I know people are saying, we don't want a king, it's not about that. If you read the plan, go read the plan. From what I've read, it's thorough, it's well done, giving the people the opportunity to make the choices of the future of Iran. It's go time. It's go time. We've had enough of this bullshit for fucking decades. It's go time. What's up, Astro? You know, it's go time. That's it. When will it happen? Don't know. I just hope it happens soon and just end this nonsense once and for all. Yeah, there's ice cream for you. It's a small one. It's sugar-free. Anyway, Navi. Exactly. They showed their hand. And that's why the drones were flying around and doing their intelligence gathering, and we know exactly. Who said that? Brian. Oh, yes. And don't think that Israel doesn't know either. And that's another thing, too. At the same time this is going on, there's going to be shit happening on the ground in coordination. There could be the cyber part of it. It's multi-pronged. It's not just going to be incoming. There's going to be a lot of things going on in coordination all at once where they're going to be freaking out like, what the? It's going to be chaos. If it was my vision of it, who am I? Like somebody said yesterday, and I'm not 60 years old, some 60-year-old in his mom's basement. I think Kevin got him. I didn't even see the comment. I after I stopped the stream, I saw that he blocked, and because you could view the messages, I was dying. I was hysterical. Oh my God, that was actually funny. I was laughing because we all heard about the guy in the basement thing. I was cracking up. Oh my God. That's right. The people of Iran want to live in peace and with their neighbors. And they want to have prosperity. And it's going to take a lot of infrastructure help to help the Iranian people. We've got to bring in like the Army Corps of Engineers to help them with the water situation. The United States is going to help logistically. They are going to help. Other countries after and that's another thing. After the mess is done, then you're going to see the UK, France, Germany, all these other countries. We're willing to help. Well, where the fuck were you when we needed your help? I'm sorry with the language. Then they'll be there to help after it's all said and done. Somebody did the work. You can bet on that. That's when they're all going to be waving the flags. After the fact. Where were you when it really counted? Where were you? That's my question. Yeah, there's no question. You know that. There's going to be a lot of countries looking to invest in Iran. You know that, especially the United States. But the United States will be welcomed with open arms because we're going to be the ones that directly helped Iran get its freedom back. And don't think that the president isn't looking at, he always look at things that way too, from the economy side. He always, you know that. So he's thinking the same thing. I mean, to be real. What's in it for us, well, you can look at it from that point of view too. I mean, we can't be blinded and naive not to think that that's part of the equation. I mean, remember the whole Iraqi thing? It's about the oil, taking over the oil. Remember all that? Or people are saying it now with Venezuela. That's part of it. What's in it for us? How can American companies gain from something like this? I mean, we signed the minerals deal with Ukraine last year, April 30th, that we would get 50% of all future projects of profit. 50%. And they have trillions of dollars worth of resources. And the United States, I talked about this numerous times, the United States has preferential access to Ukraine resources. And they've got a ton. But that's a story, that's a different topic. So what's in it for us? Oh, there's a lot in it for us. So for those that think there's nothing for us, oh, there is that side for us. No doubt. Another thing, imagine this. Just to put this out there before I leave. Can you imagine the United States having bases in Iran?
Light on.
The light is on. Oh my God. China, Russia, Pakistan, some of those countries are going to flip the hell out. But Iran may request U.S. forces to protect them. We don't know. I'm speculating. But could you imagine U.S. bases started popping up in Iran? A friendly country not going to deny us to use their airspace if needed? That's a game changer in itself. Think about that.
Could you please put this light on?
The light is on.
I can't see with that light.
Alexa, brighten the living room light 50%. that is the implications of that alone is incredible. Saudi Arabia, you don't want us to use your base? Fine. Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, whatever. We got Iran. And nearby, not too far, we got Israel. Screw you. And you know, Syria's in flux. But think about the flight path. Israel, Jordanian airspace, because we have a good relationship with Jordan, through Syria, north through Iran. Strategically, we can bypass all the rest of them if we wanted to get up that way. It's huge. It's huge. So there are so many different consequences that could occur as a result of a free. The bottom line, it's most important for the Iranian people. That's number one. But you know that everybody has a self-interest. That's just the way it is. Like here in America, in the United States, I'm sure there's a lot of people saying, well, what's in it for us to get involved in another war? Why is this so important to us? America first. But they don't, when they look at it as from a geopolitical point of view, and they break it down and realize how important it is for the United States to project strength like it always has, that alone, and forget about, like I said, the economic implications as well. And to create more of a peace stabilized region between the relations between Israel and Iran, and pretty much cutting off the money flow to the proxies. What happens to them? I do. So there's so many things that could be a result of this happening. And that's why all these other countries do not want it to happen. Because they don't want it to happen. It undermines their influence. Because what's in it for them? They're looking at it the same way. Not so good from their point of view. Oh shit, America's got another influence area. So it's complicated. But first and foremost, it's about the Iranian people, period. As it should be. That's what's most important. Most important. The Iranian people. Everybody could be selfish, thinking about self-interest and everything else. It's all about the Iranian people. Bottom line. Anyway, I'm going to get off because I got things to do. I'll be back sometime this afternoon. Just if later when I come back, if you hear or see anything, please let me know. If you come back, like Sepp has been giving me a lot of information. Kevin, what's going on quick? Diego Garcia? Oh, you're putting in flight radar stuff? That's what it looks like. So there's movement. Wait till the carriers get into place. I tell you honestly, I don't know. They might wait for both to get in position. Because at this point, there's martial law. Is the mass slaughter occurring on the Iranian streets at this time with that martial law in place? So, do we wait knowing that there's martial law and people aren't on the streets getting slaughtered and massacred? Is that some kind of thing what we're measuring right now? So what happens? Is it going to affect the Iranian people if we wait a day or a week? based on that, I don't know. I hate to say it like that. Are there any mass executions going on at the moment? All this has a play in it. Because the massacre occurred. It's happened. There's just no doubt about that. The imprisonment has occurred. There's no doubt about that. So what's happened has happened. What's the current situation on the ground? It doesn't need to be immediate, or can now we just do it right, wait, and hit when we're ready? What's the urgency is, in other words, what I'm saying. What is the urgency right now? Because like I said, as horrible as it sounds, and it's horrific, what's happened has happened. There's no changing that. But what can we do to try to make sure that the future isn't wasted for the Iranian people? And I hate to say it like that, but I'm from my opinion, looking at it from a logical, realistic point of view, if we're gonna do this, we gotta make sure we do it right. That's just, I keep saying that, but we gotta do this right. It's the only way for a chance for success and to minimize casualties in multiple countries. And I gotta get another candle, because that candle is for the people of Iran, but I gotta go out and get more candles. Because that candle's gonna stay lit. Well, not that one, but I'm gonna keep lighting candles. And I'll do my own celebration here. I know Mom would, for the Iranian people. But that's gonna be, that when that day happens, my gosh, that's gonna be just an amazing day for all the people of Iran. And I think for people that around the world that support democracy and freedom, that gives us all hope. And people in other countries that aspire to have that hope and chance for that freedom. It is a symbol that it can still happen. Democracy is not dead. But mashallah, all the people would be in their homes living. That's what I'm saying, John. So they're under martial law. That's what I'm saying. If the world takes eyes back from Iran, this is where what happened to the people that, yeah. No, I don't feel abandoned. I gotta go. Do not feel abandoned. I know you may feel abandoned. Do not. I honestly believe the President of the United States is coming and he's going to help. Do not give up hope. Don't. And it's not just about that. Don't, for the people of Iran. Don't give up hope that you will be free. One day you will be free. You know. And I believe help is on the way. Pahlavi also believes help is on the way. I think many of us believe help is on the way. And I honestly believe that the president will help you at some point. I truly believe that. In my heart, I truly believe it. And I just hope that it does happen. Anyway, yeah, I gotta go. I gotta run. I got things to do. Love to everyone. Be well, be blessed, be safe. See everybody later. I know. Oh my God. If you haven't checked out Goldie, what Goldie and Armin do, Look up Goldie if you haven't. Goldie Iran, you'll find her channel. Also 2CTV. I know how Kevin feels, so I'm not going to say nothing to Kevin. I'm feeling sick again. Check out 2CTV on YouTube. Check out 2C and Goldie. And I'm sure some of you already do, but go check them out. Because they bring a lot of information out too. You may agree or disagree, just like with me. That goes without saying. But go check them out. At least they're trying. At least they're making the effort to get the information out to the public that we don't see on mainstream media. And that is true. What 2C says is true. And what they say is true. It's things that the mainstream media does not cover. Period. Whether you agree or disagree with stuff, all of us do. I'm sure a lot of things I said today you don't agree with. That's fine. But at least people are having a discussion about it. Unlike mainstream media. And that's what's important. And it will take many years to stabilize. But you see what you're saying, Navi? It has to start somewhere, right? Day one has to happen before it happens in years. It has to start somewhere. And no matter how hard the struggles are, at least it's started. The foundations is being built, and you go up, and you build up. And I swear before, I would love to go to Iran to experience the culture, because I do it here. I go all over the place and go to different stuff. I would love to go to Iran and go to the ancient sites. That's what I would love it. I'm sure a lot of us would. Anyway, love to everybody. Fringe, Astro, I don't know if your wife is still here. Tell her I send my love. Marco, anybody that's watching, Kevin, Navi, Sep, John, the list goes on in the chats. Love to all everybody. I'll see everybody later. I gotta run. I'll be back.